Gentlemen, welcome back to the capital of gaming, where we talk about only the finest anime this side of California. Last time I talked about one of the most boring anime of all time, Vampire Wars, a truly mediocre piece of garbage despite what the one comment told me. Today we're going to talk about what is absolutely the worst anime, or at least one of the most disturbing and weird anime I have ever seen in my life. Something that's so insane that I force my friends to watch it. You know who you are. Anybody over 20 or under 20, you haven't seen this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna talk about Ninja Resurrection. I first found this anime on Amazon. I was browsing around DVDs and because I was actually curious about getting physical media anime back in the day. So I would go on eBay and Amazon looking for fun stuff to buy. And I made quite a ridiculous list, and you'd be surprised what you can find by just typing in anime on eBay and Amazon. For the low price, I believe, of $10 that I acquired this DVD. It was very unassuming, and I think I thought it was actually Ninja Scrolls, the classic fantasy samurai anime from back in the day. Boy, was I sure as shit wrong. What we have here is an incredibly, and I mean incredibly, loose interpretation of an actual rebellion that happened in Japanese history. I've been wanting to talk about this on the internet for a long time. This is Ninja Resurrection. The anime starts off pretty chill. A group of people praying to the Virgin Mary. Immediately smash cut to some samurai smashing the statue and dragging some citizens out of the building, as there is a Christian uprising happening in Japan and the Japanese government is trying to shut it all down. It's actually quite serious outside of the ridiculous evil faces that the samurai are given when they are smashing the statues. I'm talking blank eyes, sharp teeth, the whole 9 yards. And the anime prefaces that there is a prophecy that is happening that one day Jesus or Satan will revive themselves and lead the people to sanctuary. This happens as a young child is then shot in the chest and is saved by his cross. And that is to indicate that he is the savior. In any normal series, you'd be like, okay, so that's the prophecies that he got saved by his cross and that would be enough. No, he takes it out, holds it to the sky, and heavenly light shoots from it. And the Virgin Mary cries blood from its eyes. This is insane. They literally say that he is the rebirth of Jesus, except they call him Shiro, because Shiro is actually a real person that existed in history. Amaterasu Shiro, who was a child who was known as Heaven's Messenger back in the day and led the people through a Christian rebellion. And this is what it is loosely based on. If you think that this isn't going to get wild, well, it is. Cut some time later to the rebellion going underway, and the Christians are holding off the rebellion as hard as they can. They're on their last leg, though. They have one fort left, and they're taking out all the soldiers with their Heavenly Cross bombs. And when I say Heavenly Cross bombs, I mean they are dropping blue fire bombs that go in the shape of crosses on the battlefield. How they were able to do that, I don't know, but all I'm gonna say is I want to know the guy who was planting the gasoline or gunpowder or whatever was out there when they were doing this. That's a hell of a finishing move. He actually spent a lot of time with Shiro as the leader of this rebellion, showing his more benevolent, sweet side, because he really is a nice guy. He seems like he's there to help his people, but there's nothing he can really do about it. We even get a sweet scene of him helping these orphan children, giving them some food, some blankets, and comforting them, while this kind of Jafar-ass evil priest is sitting next to him like, please, Shiro, follow me, listen to me. You cannot trust these people, they will end us. Something like that. Honestly, at this point, the anime really doesn't have a plot, because we appear to be at the end of what would normally be a different anime, and this is the beginning. This is episode 1. So the anime decides to develop its own story by having Youve Yagyu be sent to assassinate Shiro. Youve Yagyu is a real life samurai that actually existed back in the day, take on Amaterasu Shiro, who is taking up the role of Jesus Christ. Oh yeah. He goes into the fortress, easily able to break in because he is clearly just a ninja. And by the way, I should mention this. I am under the theory that the reason that this anime is called Ninja Resurrection, and I confuse it for Ninja Scroll because the text is written exactly the same. Youve Yagyu is also in Ninja Scroll as the main character. So I think some suspicious stuff went on when they dubbed this anime. I'm betting they retitled it. Am I right? Who knows? Anyway, back to the rant. Youve storms the castle and is going to take them on, hoping to only take Shiro hostage and is going to let everybody else free, or at least anybody who doesn't stand in his way. The blood and gore in this anime is absolutely insane. You were seeing men get their faces sliced in half and their teeth cut out. You were seeing hardcore parkour, the likes of which you have never seen. Like Dying Light would be jealous of the parkour happening in this freaking anime. We get Jubei slaughtering hundreds upon hundreds of Christian soldiers as he makes his way to Shiro. And he does actually run into the children. Doesn't hurt them. He jumps and runs right over them. And then we cut to the evil priest. A sound effect is heard and some blood splatter happens. And we all know what happened, ladies and gentlemen. And I gotta be honest, like for the most part, this anime was really boring for this part. You might think that I haven't been talking for that long, but this is about 30 minutes in and all we've had is a prophecy, a little bit of magic, and some crossfire bombs. Not that crazy. What I'm about to tell you is probably the most whiplash-inducing effect I've ever witnessed in any anime I've ever watched, and is one of the reasons I make people watch this with me. Jubei Yagyu meets up with Shiro on top of the roof right outside of the cathedral, and Shiro promises to turn himself in, committing suicide and giving up his body to Jubei as long as his people are left alone to leave. He agrees, and Shiro's about to commit seppuku. The evil priest, who has been clearly evil this whole time, I mean, god damn, look at that face, steps out of the darkness and tells him, "No, Shiro, look at what he has done to the children," and picks up two decapitated children heads, and the camera lingers on them for an incredibly long time. The face on Shiro, the horror that he has witnessed, and the man he thinks has committed this crime has made his blood boil, and all Jubei can say is, "I didn't. Trust me, bro." He is dumbfounded. Shiro weeps for the children. Lightning strikes, and his eyes are cut out white, his face filled with anger. And he pulls off this insane, evil pose that I've never seen before, where he just has his arms crossed out and his face turned to the side with lightning blackening out his eyes and mouth. He then pulls out his cross and prays to God to grant him the power to kill Jubei loudly in the most ridiculous fashion that would make the main character of Gundam G jealous, and God grants him the power. Lightning strikes Jubei's skin. He then turns into a terracotta dragon and begins to fight Jubei. We now have something completely unprecedented. We have a giant terracotta stone tile dragon fighting an actual ancient samurai, and the dragon is taking the place of Jesus in this situation. There are all kinds of whiplash in the world, and this is the most ridiculous kind, because this went from a 3 to a 20 in a snap. Jubei's squad then comes in, and they actually attempt to fight Jesus off with him. And one of them looks like Logan from Wolverine, and he has a full-on Iron Man suit with jets and everything, and flies in and splits Jubei's body open. This goes on for quite some time, and is nothing but weird action until we hit credits, I should say. Well, almost. There's one more thing that happens, and we're gonna get to that. But first, let's explain how Jubei beats Jesus. While he's being flung around and on top of the dragon's body, and by the way, Shiro is hanging off the dragon's head with half his body just floating around, trying to strangle Jubei, while the dragon is just floating around the whole area. He pulls the kid's head out and scares him, throws his sword and pierces him into the cathedral wall. He then falls into the church and proceeds to die, thinking that God has abandoned him. Jafar comes out of the darkness and tells him that there is no God and he has no real power, but he can get power if he comes back to life as Satan. The anime is telling us there is no God, but there is a Satan, and he's Japanese. So we need to clarify a few things. I didn't know this stuff, so we just need to teach this in history class. Why don't you? Sunday school needs a little bit of a revamp. Jafar basically tells him that if he merges with his daughter, you all know what that means, he will be reborn as Satan. Jafar, the priest, cuts his finger off, and then the finger does its best thing impression from Adam's Family, crawling its way somewhere I will not say. Not good. Not safe for work. We will not get into that. They merge, and he burns to death. That is the end of episode 1. This is undeniably one of the weirdest, craziest anime I've ever seen, and you need to show your friends. You need to trick them, because when they will witness it, they'll be like, why are you showing me this boring anime? And then they will be asking you to pay for their therapy. There's a bit more that happens, but I don't think I need to go in it anymore, because outside of the stunning animation where Jubei does revive as Satan, and then slaughter an entire village, and that's the end of the anime, because they couldn't afford a 3rd episode, there's nothing else to talk about. Hey guys, so the video is kind of taking a bit bit of a different turn here for the last bit of it. I decided to redo the entire ending because I really did just skim over the second episode of the series when it is a 2-episode OVA. And I did say that there wasn't really so much to talk about because it is simply set up for the next episode. A lot of time spent with Youve reflecting on his past as he becomes the main character of the series, and there was clearly a lot of setup for Youve to fight legendary samurai that he at some point did know or at least was aware of, and that was kind of interesting. There were some creepy, interesting, cool things that they were doing with these ancient warriors. They were bringing them back basically as demonic zombies and having these really messed up interpretations of their strengths. I thought it would kind of be a bit of an injustice to the OVA, for all of its good, for all of its bad, to not mention just how ridiculous it was starting to go, because they do go out of the way to monologue in the intro of the series at episode 2 about these ancient warriors. It's very clear what was going to happen at some point, that Youve was going to team up with his friends, his team, and they were going to Avengers assemble to fight Amakasu Shiro, and take him out and all of these ancient warriors that were going to be zombified demons. And that is fucking wild that is something they decided to make an anime out of. And I just kind of wanted to elaborate on that a little bit, because that is something that I think adds to the insanity of the anime. It is something I feel like you should know. I just want to give a big shout out to my friend Fel the Dwarf, who was hanging out with me while I was filming this video and kind of helping me get in the mood for this whole project. I want to give a big shout out to my editor, VFX M Bio. You are an amazing talent, and I hope we continue to work together for a very long time. Thank you so much for being patient while I get these projects going. I hope I can make it a lot easier and faster for you in the future. I also want to thank all my subscribers for liking the video, for commenting, and for hitting that like button. And if you haven't done it, well, I mean, you could be part of this thanks if you just did that for me. I also want to say that there will be more content coming, maybe not all anime related, but there is some stuff in the works that I think you'll really enjoy, both anime and non. So stay tuned. There's more coming your way. All right, catch you later.